"You'll want to see this," said Dr. Colley. Dexter Bryden turned away from his computer and looked at her. "All right," he said. "You have something you want to show me? Go ahead and show me." "Vectors," she said again. "You've already told me about the vectors. You did that a few days ago." Dexter nodded. "I have more data now," she said. She tugged on his chair until he rolled closer to her monitor. "I've charted every surge since the vector of our marker shifted, and I've also correlated it with the way it continues to broadcast, even when not engaged in a surge. Before, when a surge came, it would send a wide-range blast of energy up into space, always a different vector, as if it was looking for something, but then something changed. "It's no longer broadcasting into space," said Bryden. "No," said Dr. Dexter. "Now it's a more focused blast, like a burst of energy being propelled out of a gun. It still spreads and widens a little, but much more slowly, and now it's always oriented in roughly the same direction." "All right," said Bryden, "it's changed. So what?" Dr. Dexter smiled. "Here's the vector for the marker from Aegis 7, she said, "which incidentally has been firing its pulse simultaneously with the marker here. It's millions of miles away, so the system is quite wide by the time it reaches this far. But even so, if you calculate the center point of the wave, you find that it seems to pass exactly through our planet." "Intriguing." Now Bryden simply nodded. "Here's the last one from the project. We're not supposed to know about the one in Kremar. The reason we know about it is because its signal is also oriented toward the planet we're on, and seems also to be coordinated with the other two." She pulled up a topographical map. "The planet's surface," she said. "Satellite photos. You don't know how hard it was for me to get this. Had to speak directly to Commander Grotto himself." "You should have gone through me," said Bryden. "I told him I was going through you," said Dr. Dexter. "Otherwise you wouldn't have given me anything." "You have no right," started Bryden. Galley turned away from her screen and smirked. "Oh, relax," she said. "We're all on the same team. You'll get the credit if things work out well, and if they don't, you can tell them you had nothing to do with it. If you're nervous about it, link with him right now. I'm sure they won't hesitate to yank it away." When Bryden Fleming didn't say anything, she turned back to the monitor. "Here we are," she said, touching the screen with one finger. Bryden could see the specific shape of the compound, perhaps 2 inches across, a gray blot on the yellow-red surface. That was the rest of the map. "Marker is approximately right here." She moved her finger slightly. "The vector carries us forward along this path," she said, dragging her finger, "which brings us right here, through here." She stopped on another gray blot. The panel colony, he knew it was there, saw it sometimes looming dimly on the horizon if he looked out of the right window, but he had never been to it, let alone inside of it. It had nothing to do with their purpose for being on the planet. "You think it's broadcasting to the prison compound, he asked. I didn't say that, she said, and it's not a broadcast exactly. It may be pulsing to something beyond that on the other side of it, maybe even something miles away. But I've had the computer calculate the center point of each vector exactly, and when we do that, it looks like this. She touched the screen and 3 sets of lines appeared on the map. They intersected there right at the prison compound. Oh my God, said Bryden. Nifty, right, said Callie. That's not exactly the word I would have used, said Bryden. What do you think it sees there? There you go, treating it like a person again. It doesn't see anything. It doesn't want anything. The marker is a mechanical device. You know that as well as I do. It's been programmed to look for something. No, thought Bryden, she's wrong. It's much more than that. But to Callie, he only said, what's your best guess? My best guess? That's not very scientific, Bryden. But when Bryden didn't rise to take the bait, she raised her eyes upward and seemed to examine the ceiling. I don't know, she said. Maybe there's something significant about the location, a certain kind of current or force there, a magnetic flux, perhaps even something we don't quite have the instrumentation to detect. It could be anything, said Bryden. Not quite anything, Dr. Dexter corrected, but it could be a lot of things. He sighed. She always had to be right. So what do we do? What else can we do but go look for it somewhere in the middle of the panel colony? He said. We go where our data takes us, said Dr. Dexter. We're scientists. Bryden hesitated, then nodded. I'll speak with the commander, he said. We'll see what we can arrange. Chapter 26. Help you need help? Asked Estevan. I don't need help, said Bill, mumbling it. Who are you talking to? Estevan asked Waldron. He ignored them. They were in the world that wasn't important. They weren't part of the world that really mattered. Yes, said Dead Khan. Help me. But how can I? Estevan, are you alright? Asked Waldron, placing his hand on his shoulder. He shook him off. We need you, said Dead Khan. And as he spoke, his face slowly changed, becoming smooth. The wound in his throat slowly closed, and the throat changed to loosening its Adam's apple. A moment later, it was clear that his face was no longer a man's face, but a woman's. A moment more, and Estevan recognized his mother. I need you, she claimed. Nice trick, thought Estevan. What do you need me to do? He asked. Come be with me. What do you mean, come be with you? You're right here. His mother shook his head. Find me, she said. Come unto me. I'm trapped here, said Estevan. I'm a prisoner. I can't leave. We all are, said Waldron next to him. You're no different from anyone else. But his mother just looked at Estevan as if she hadn't understood what he had said. Then she smiled. It is you, she told him, who will help change things. But now she was speaking in riddles. How was he to help her if he didn't understand what she was saying and thinking? That introduced a little seed of doubt into him. He hadn't liked his mother much when she was alive. Why should he listen to her when she was dead? Well, it wasn't his mother exactly. A part of him reminded himself, but someone or something else. Then what was it the rest of him wanted to know? But that was the problem, wasn't it? Because he simply did not know. Maybe it wasn't even real. For many years, ever since he was a kid, he'd had a hard time telling what was real from what was not. Even he knew that. And yet it felt real, didn't it? And he wanted to listen to what was said. So why would he be afraid? And yet he was a little afraid. Maybe it was too much for just one man, especially if he was that man, and he was trapped here. Whatever it wanted him to do, how was he going to get out to do it? And how was he to know how to do it even once he was out? Why me? He asked. Because you can hear us about best, said his mother. You can teach us. You are teaching us to understand the others through you. Us, he wondered. But there was only his mother, and another seed of doubt was introduced. And then the burst came, a strong one this time. He heard Bill scream somewhere near him, the sound penetrating even into this other world. He felt a finger within his brain touching it, prodding it, and then it felt like his head had caught fire and melted into slag. The world went strange, and he could see suddenly both worlds equally, but one through his left eye and one through his right, overlaid on one another, but both still fully present. And then he found himself lying on the floor, staring up at the ceiling, both worlds in full carnival around him, as his fellow prisoner shouted and sweated or yelled, or simply stood there slowly banging their heads against the walls.